Welcome to this evening's meeting of the Finance Assets and Performance Scrutiny Committee. The microphone's gone, so everybody project. We benefit from some shiny new shower heads that are going to collect the thoughts directly from our brains. Please do not think rude thoughts. Do not say them aloud if you think them, because I'm not sure how sensitive these objects are. So we'll make a start. The first item of the agenda is apologies for absence. We have a couple of late apologies, so I genuinely don't know who they're from. Would somebody like to tell me what apologies we have received?
I'll do the Conservative ones. Councillor Becky Smith is being subbed by Councillor Adcock, and Councillor Waring is being subbed by Councillor Chris, and Councillor Brian's got to put me down, so she's not getting somebody.
Okay, so three.
Councillor Lawley.
Councillor Lawley.
Councillor Lawley substituted by Councillor Grocott.
Councillor Grocott. Fantastic, and welcome, Councillor Report, just in time. Item number 2, then, declarations of interest. Does anyone have any declarations to make in relation to any item? No. Item number 3, minutes of the previous meeting, which appear in your agenda pack, pages 3 to 6. Are there any corrections for the minutes? I see no corrections. Is it okay if we agree those minutes? They're agreed. Item number 4 is the commercial strategy update. Councillor Sweet.
Thank you, Chair. The commercial strategy came to the last full council, and again is in here. Also on here, there we have an update. Now, I believe we said we'd bring this update twice a year, which I think sounds entirely sensible. And this basically goes through the sort of things we're doing. If I can just be slightly more methodical, and strategy has been reviewed at Cabinet and Scrutiny for final meeting at full council on the 14th. The overarching aim of the strategy is to deliver a financial return which contributes to the council's efficiencies and additional income targets. In order to do this, the council will develop a commercial culture, ensure sound governance arrangements are in place, and ensure that there are appropriate performance management in place for commercial activities. The sort of things we're looking at are in this report. I don't intend to go through it, but if people want to ask myself questions, you feel free. And if I can't answer, I'm sure Mr. McKenzie might like.
Sure. Yeah. We'll open it up to the committee then. Does anybody have any questions or comments on this update? As the portfolio holder said, we're seeing this as a regular item twice a year.
Yeah.
If there are no questions or comments, then we will thank the administration.
I think it's good to see it, to come back twice a year here to see what progress we're making. I think it's helps to translate some good things about certainly support that. Yeah, thank you.
So if we're happy then to move on and to have another in 6 months' time on the commercial strategy, we will do that. Take note of that. Item number 5 on the agenda is the financial and performance review report. I'll ask Councillor Sweeney to introduce this item.
Again, this is one of these frustrating reports, really, because it's up to the end of so it was quarter 3, which is the end of December, and now we're nearly at the end of halfway through March, and the end of the year is the end of March. So it's 2.5 months out of date, which is unfortunate. But there's nothing else we can do about it. The main thing for me is because I'm very anxious on spending money, and at the end of quarter 3, the council achieved a positive variance of £22,000 on revenue budget. The projected outturn for the year represents a break-even position, and this is recently confirmed by the completion of period 11 budget monitoring. Now we're in period 12, so I can see absolutely no reason at all why we shouldn't be in a balanced budget position at the end of this year. But again, I'll take any questions.
Thank you very much, and congratulations to our officers on having achieved that again.
Thank you, Mark.
And Councillor Sweeney, portfolio holder, who, as we know, works night and day, just like Jeff Durham, just like all of us in our collective endeavour. Are there any questions or comments on the financial performance itself before we go on to the indicators? If there are none on the report, what I will typically do is look for the red ones. Now looking at the indicators, I can see sickness absence is the first one. I know it's one that we've looked at in some detail before. Would someone like to talk to us a little bit about sickness absence and the trend line?
I would love to.
Thank you.
As I'm sure you expect. First one, yes, although it's red, there are some good things to pick up from it. The cumulative figure is actually going down. January and February, it is also down both those months. So we're heading in the right direction. The year end is forecast at the end of March to be better than last year. So I'm not saying it's going to be we're on target or anything like that, but it will be better than last year. So I think the direction of travel is something to be commended. And I think it also shows the sickness action plan that we're using at the moment is working, and these figures show that. And I'll take it.
Any on that? As we pass by, the next one then is immediately after that, and it is staff turnover.
Yeah, there's a little bit of spiel on that, but I'd like to point out a couple of things if I can. 90% of staff are happy to earn their own objectives and get things done. 90% of staff understand how their role impacts on and benefits residents. 84% of staff feel trusted by their manager and colleagues. 71% of staff feel they are supported and treated fairly, an increase from 6 months in 2022. Now, I spent a lot of time in this building, and I don't pick up, I don't hear, I don't get vibes of people that are not happy to work here, that I think this is a bad place, that people are horrible and mistreated. I just don't get that at all. I think people who work here are contented, and well, I think they do an excellent job, to be honest with you. But I just, I worked in offices all my life, and I just do not pick a negative feeling coming from our members of staff. They seem well challenged and happy in their roles. But again, I'll take questions.
Just to be clear, that those statistics you read out at the start, those are from the staff survey outputs that we've already heard at a previous meeting. Okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So do we get feedback from those that have chosen to leave to see if there's anything that is internal factors?
But leading interviews, I'm not an expert on personal matters, but I've got a young lady on my left 2 years, but I'm sure we do exit interviews. But
we do, yeah.
Okay.
And they are the staff, but we send exit questionnaires to all leavers who fill them out, and then every sort of couple of months or so we take a view to whether there are any themes on there. Typically you might get one or two who, if they have been dismissed, aren't that happy with things, which you might understand, but largely that it isn't about being unhappy here, it's about looking for opportunities, personal circumstances. So there isn't anything thematically in there that gives us any cause for concern. Perfect.
As the stumps.
Take that all at face value, figure is still above target. So there's got to be something. I'm not sold on the fact that there is no internal issue if the figure's above the target. It would be very strange that all of a sudden this authority just had lots of people moving on for no reason at all. I mean, I'm not really asking for an answer, but I can have all the details from yourself about the staff survey, but that doesn't change that figure. That figure's still quite high. And if that figure stays high, then I think there's got to be more of a sort of a deep dive into why that's happening. Is it that, I mean, it might be something like salaries, but we're not competing from a local government point of view. It might be worse than that the private sector is obviously better salaries and people moving to the private sector. And that's an answer, and that's nobody's fault because you can't change that. It's been like that forever. But I think if that's still the same figure, say in 6 months' time, I think that might be something that we need to look at as a committee.
I think if it's still the same figure in 6 months' time, then the trend line there will continue to be flat. And one of the advantages of the new style of report that we see is that we do get a trend line in addition to the raw numbers. I'm inclined to agree with Councillor Stubbs that this is something that we should look at again in 6 months' time. And if it is a concern to members of the committee, we will absolutely commission a piece of work to look into it in more detail. Are there any sort of comments from our officers?
Before you said, I mean, the first line is staff turnover remains stable. So that's why it's a flat line. But yeah, it's
just that flexibility for the workforce isn't always a negative thing. It keeps us moving forward. It keeps things fresh. We do have an ageing workforce. Demographics are. We have more older workers than we do young ones, so by very nature of that fact, you're going to get more retirements. So there are reasons why that figure might be slightly higher. And the other thing it is related to that sickness absence figure as well. So a number of people have left through sickness policies. You are able to work anymore again. Some of those might have taken some ill health retirements, etc. So it's a picture in time really. It's related to our demographics and who we are. I think you're right. It's worth keeping an eye on. But it is where we are at the moment.
Councillor Stubbs.
Just very quickly, institutional memory is very important, especially in places like this.
Oh yeah.
And if we are losing, and like I say, if people are coming to retirement age, that's, you know, that's natural. But if a lot of institutional memory walks out the door in 12 months, say, that's not good for the organisation looking forward either.
Yeah.
You worried something's going to happen to Councillor Sweeney. Are there any other comments on that particular indicator? Councillor Adcock.
Can I just ask what the response rate is on the staff surveys?
I haven't got those figures with me now, but we can get that out to you. It was higher. I remember it was higher this time than it was in previous years. So year on year, we're building on that, but I can't recall data.
We did get, so if you look through the, not the minutes, but the previous paperwork for the committee, there will be a copy of the report that we received in there. We'll move on to, unless anyone's got the intervening indicators they'd like to highlight. There are 3 red indicators relating to waste and recycling, starting ID 1.4A, dry recycling. There's food collection from the curbside, and there is missed collections as well. Councillor Sweeney.
Yeah, I've got a bit of an answer here. But I think I'll probably just paraphrase it really. Packaging producers are lightweighting packaging. They manufacture in advance of when they have to pay for collection and processing packaging. That's one reason. And secondly, in sort of December and January, you drive down the road and every blue bag is full of Amazon cardboard. Once Christmas is out of the way, and that was a huge spike of that. People don't buy so much. It costs living crisis and all the other things. And it drops down. I think those are probably the 2 biggest things about this. I've got a big long script on it, but I think that's probably the bulk of it. And I was staggered in after Christmas to see the amount of carbon that was going into people's food bags, which is battles and stuff. And we don't have Christmas every year. I mean that's a lot of
Councillor Stubbs.
Which everything that you just said is fine, but is the target then artificially high? Is it too high? Is it an unachievable target given the current situation?
I don't know, because if they are doing lightweight packaging, that's not going to change, is it? It's going to be lightweight packaging. I think it's something again that you need to sit and look at over a while and see. I don't really like changing targets because it's not achievable. That sounds a bit defeatist, doesn't it?
It's also not. Why would you set a target that you know you're never going to reach?
Well, that's the point that we have to agree with eventually, isn't it? I think we'll leave it a while and then see, because it's pointless doing daft targets, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, we'll know. I like our football team to be talking about it. Well, it ain't going to happen, is it? So I might also point out the council remains the second highest performer of statutory authorities for dry recycling. Only the Moorlands doing better. It's worth noting that it's a significant shift for Newcastle, which previously was one of the lowest performers in Staffordshire when operated the previous box and bag collection services. Looking wide across the county, within the council's SIPCA neighbours, our recycling rate in comparison with our benchmarking groups puts the council well within the top quartile of performers. So we're not doing badly. We should perhaps be doing better, but should we be doing better? I don't know, and that's what we need to look at. Are we setting ourselves unfair targets? Yeah, go on.
Each year we look at our services, look at our priority delivery plans, and the targets form part of each service's priority delivery plans. We're currently working on those at the moment. So also for this particular service area, Andrew Burke, service director, will be looking at all those targets to see whether we are slightly above where we should be, or what are the factors making that up. So that is piece of work that's being completed at the moment, and we will have updated targets for the 1st of April.
Okay. Councillor Park.
Thank you, Chair. It's just more of a comment than any asking questions. Since we've been using this new graph system, this is probably the first time I've noticed any of the household recycling categories that have been red. The previous meetings, they've always been either with the grey or they've hit the target. So I personally, I'm not cause for concerns just yet. We'll see how the pattern goes throughout the rest of the year, but it's just more of a comment. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, councillor Chris.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Just a question. So, got 25% the targets. So this is dry. This is glass, cardboard, and cans. I mean, 25% of the properties are only putting out recycling. Or what's the percentage you got?
I think that's the actual amount of
Is that the weight?
being collected rather than
Oh, right.
households. It's yeah. And I think just going back to some of the reasons why, having spoken to Andrew Bird, I think cost of living crisis is playing part of this. So people are naturally spending less as well, which means that they've got less waste to put in their bin. There's lots of national factors I think that play into why we're seeing a difference in our figures like this. But equally, we are looking at these and we're trying to unpick why they are, as so we can actually put these targets that are meaningful for the service areas. But I think there's multiple factors that play into this role. We change something, we collect a different way, or which isn't the case. So
Just on the back of that,
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
does this include the recycling centre as well, or is this just the doorstep?
This is your collections. Councillor Brock, you indicated you wanted to.
Well, a comment really. Presumably the targets have been along the same lines for some years. We've always had targets to meet. So the impacts of the pandemic and changes in retail habits mean that there's obviously a lot more packaging at home and coming out of households. And I'm not sure it's just Christmas and more cardboard because people are having more stuff. I think people have stuff all the time now in a way that they perhaps never did 2 or 3 years ago. Simply because of the change in the patterns of shopping. It's not mean that I don't think it's quite fair to say that it's because we're consuming less or even at different times of the year. I just think anecdotally, at least we're all recipients of Amazon boxes and things this big. It's odd that it's not odd, but it just doesn't seem to reflect in here that this is an influence on how targets are seen as falling short, whereas in fact the actual things that are being done are actually more ambitious. There's more having to be collected, and certainly in speaking as town ward, a lot of things don't get collected because the bins are in ridiculous places behind terrace houses and up gullies and all over the place, and it's not really it's not always something that's linear. Here are the pavements. We collect so many of them, we collect such a big proportion, and then we recycle so and so. Because there's an awful lot of what used to be called grot spots in the town, and also in any built-up areas, which can't be counted in this. Because quite simply, they're not collecting collections, but they're not miscollections, because often they don't get reported. So, they don't get reported because the things are spilling out everywhere. I'm thinking Grosvenor the Road and places like that where there's a lot of rented and multiple occupation, and places where behind terrace houses there are gates and things that people can't get the bins out. All these things get regularly reported, but I'm not saying it's a mistaken picture. It's a good broad sweep of how efficient we are at doing what we can see. But I don't think it reflects what we can't see. And I think it's a bit simplistic to say that there's a lot of cardboard about and, at certain times of the year there's less. I'm not sure that's true. I'm not saying that, that's an entirely anecdotal account. But I don't think it's picking up all the information that we need in order to improve the service, because we only hear about the service when it's falling short. And nowhere in here, apart from, these are the bits, we collect these, we don't collect these. We've had a few bad weeks. And I think the target should be adjusted in a way to accommodate the increased amount, particularly in cardboard and paper, that is left, that is done in houses which used to be, sourced by people going out shopping. They don't do it now. And these look to me like stagnant targets and an infinitely increasing situational problem with retail. Because that doesn't make any sense, I'm sorry, but I just don't think it fits everything.
More recyclable stock
Yeah.
from that. It is
I mean,
a
that's
thesis and one that we will be able to test against future performance. I think members are quite right. These are ambitious targets. And the last one, for example, which is missed collections, that is an absolute number per 100,000. And we certainly used to have more missed collections than that. We certainly used to collect a lot less recycling than we do now. I don't know if members would want to dig into this more deeply, but we can invite the service lead to come and speak to us at a future meeting if you'd like to talk to Andrew Bird, I think, about this. I don't know whether he'll thank us, but we can invite him. So when we come to the work programme, we'll look perhaps whether it's the next meeting or the one after that, it's most appropriate to invite him to brief us. And then we can ask questions like the ones we've just asked to the expert. We'll move on then to the next food. You're not done food? I thought I was picking all three of them. Do you want to cover then those food collections?
Yes, I will.
Did you have
Yeah.
a line?
It's a little bit of a drop in participation from 35 over June, 33%. A couple of things though. Oh, excuse me. The 3,000 flats and apartments are going to start doing food waste, and that should hopefully make quite a difference. Also, having less food waste presented, is that actually a bad thing? Or does it mean people are eating more food and not buying and throwing the residue away? You know, is it one or is it the other? I don't know. I think there's an argument to say that the less food you pick up, it might be that people are actually eating it, or put it on the compost bin in the garden, something like that. So I think it's a little bit of a mixed way of looking at it, and certainly the 3,000 extra flats now. Because when recycling further, I got this authority in 2006, and as soon as we started recycling, flats were a problem, and they've been a problem ever since. Getting people in flats to recycle, and the food's the last things in there. And hopefully this will improve. We get flats working right. Absolutely.
That's food. Any
This
questions?
question, I agree with you. It's actually 99.99%. Yes, it's picked up. So it's not 100%. Better if it was, but 99.99. I think our guys did a pretty good job.
I'm inclined to agree. I think we'll move on then at that point to detritus. The next red target is the detritus target. Councillor Sweeney.
I think it's fair to say detritus is everybody's favourite word. Detritus. What a fabulous word that is. Yeah, detritus. Well, we had all sweepers that were breaking down all the time. I think you can perhaps remember Councillor Hutchinson with his Daphne juice invented for them, or getting children to put in. I think my favourite, I think, was Homer Swipson. That was my personal favourite. It's the one I've always remembered. But hopefully, yeah, now they've got these new machines, a lot bigger, a lot better. This will fall off the page on this one. That's the expectation. That's what we spent the money for. So I hope
That's a confident prediction, which is to be able to test
You
against
will.
future
You will.
performance.
Trevor Johnson, no, sir.
Any questions or comments on detritus? No. We'll move on. I think we all recognise that is the case. Scrolling now, not scrolling. Next red target, the Jubilee 2 customer satisfaction net promoter score.
Yes.
Which is a negative yearly trend and 35.68 against the target of 40. And I don't understand how the score is calculated, so perhaps our officers or the portfolio holder would like to enlighten us.
Fortunately, I've had a bit of a briefing on this. I didn't understand it. I'll be honest with you. J2 scored above the national average for the annual Moving Communities Customer Satisfaction Survey. This was below J2's previous score. One of the key questions was about online booking. I think if you have a swimming lesson, I think if Councillor Bryan was here, she'd endorse what I'm going to say now. You book it online if you could, but you couldn't. Now you can. So I would hope that this will improve immeasurably, and we'll be back to where we should be. It's mainly the online things. Plus, I think I don't think people are quite knew how good our staff were in Jubilee to exercise staff, people like that. So that was it. But the main thing I've been given is the fact that we didn't use online services as much as we should have done, and we are doing now. So I hope it's will improve.
So reading just from the report, there is a national target that's against we can compare ourselves of 22.
Yep.
Our score is 35, and our target, which is more ambitious than the national, is 40. Okay. Are there any questions or comments on that one? Councillor Parker and then Councillor Stubbs.
Thank you again, Chair. Yeah, it's not bad, but I can, as a member of Jubilee 2, I can understand why we're not hitting our expectations. So I know Stephen's not talking about it, but can anybody answer, is it just it's based on the online issue, or is this all to do with what actually goes on inside the building, such as the equipment, the swimming pool, the CAF, etc.?
I think the other thing I was talking about was the teaching staff are better qualified than people know, and they're not being using them as much as they could do. And that's the two reasons I think it. But the main one is the online wasn't good enough, and it's been improved.
Okay.
It sort of comes back on what I was going to ask. How does people not understanding how well qualified the staff are affect a score about a venue? Not quite a constant correlation between the two. What will change if all of a sudden everybody in Newcastle knows that the best qualified gym instructors work at J2?
Well, when people do this survey, they'll think, oh, these people are really well qualified. I'll mark them high. So,
Well, performance and not.
This is just a one-off. This survey. This is just a one indicator.
No, I understand that. No, I just thought it was odd that I get the whole online booking. You can quantify that.
Yeah.
You can't quantify people's thoughts on the skill set of instructors that they might not even use.
I think the questionnaire probably tries to do that, doesn't it? It'll ask people whether they think the staff are well qualified. Are they attentive? Are they, it's a safe environment? Those are the sorts of questions.
See, attentive, I don't understand.
Yeah.
I think if you
They've all got PhDs, but they don't have them all.
but if you just use the swimming pool, you're not going to think about the gym. You're not going to think about the centre manager and what qualifications they have. I just thought it was an odd sentence. But I understand your point. If the national questionnaire is trying to get that sort of, it seems a very weird metric to try.
It's arriving at a single score to cover what could be a huge range of issues. So it's good that we have our own internal processes for judging how well we're doing. But this performance indicator judges us against what the net promoter score, which is a dimensionless number that is created for us.
22, by the way, is a mean score. It's not the target.
In that case, should we ask them to change the wording of the report next time? Or is it correct in the report?
It's neither.
It says the national NPS score, so it is purely the mean average.
It's the mean average, yeah.
We're above average.
Okay.
Significantly. Congratulations, guys. Any other questions or comments on that one? Councillor Brocky.
Not a competition in gyms at the moment because at one time J2 was a very good economical way of getting fit and of getting a reasonable standard of supervision. I know there's one opened down the road from me. The big one that was at the end, it used to cost about £30 a month and you couldn't get out of contract because of course, well, obviously since the pandemic, it's not only dropped its price, it's started this, pay per visit sort of thing. And it's becoming more competitive because people in this day and age aren't that keen on buying into big contracts, and the other gyms in the area, although they're probably rarely as good and not anywhere near as convenient, have sort of cottoned onto this. And now instead of being, you join a gym other than J2 and you're locked into a contract, you join J2 and you have a shorter period of financial commitment. And I think the other gyms are getting wise to it and increasing other facilities like beauty rooms and things like that. You know, it's having to run fast to keep up, I think. I don't think it's particularly primitive in there. I was a member of it for a long time, I couldn't believe it, and found it perfectly satisfactory. Satisfactory was what it was. Now you can get for the same price, probably slightly more enhanced facilities and shorter periods of financial commitment.
If you've not been recently, you should go to J2 again. You should see all
Oh,
of the advances. One of the things that we can say is that the preceding performance indicator is membership growth, and membership growth in J2 is strong, but completely recognise that it's a competitive environment out there.
Yes, capitalism is a wonderful thing in drives up standards, as I'm sure you'd agree, Councillor Bucky. Jubilee 2 is doing very well at the moment, and as is Kisco. We were worried because competition was always good, but when Kisco opened, we wondered if it would impact on us, and it hasn't done at all. And I don't know where they're pulling their customers from. They're not pulling from J2, it must be from Allstage and Compton, where I don't. Allstage, yeah. But Jubilee 2 is doing very well. Yes.
So there's nothing wrong with it.
I don't think so, actually. And Councillor Parker, there's a regular user on it. In fact, I'm sure he'd take it up.
Councillor
Still from what Councillor Brocky was saying, these different gyms are marketed at different client groups.
Yes.
So bodybuilders who are full of steroids, well, nothing wants to go to Jubilee 2. There's a special place. Jubilee more of a family. School, and it's obviously, as Councillor Sweeney said, the membership is growing, so we are actually marketing it our target.
Yeah, I think you're completely right, Councillor, but these things market for different people. There's one in opposite Tesco's where near I live, in the old Aldi. There's Aldi now. Aldi, isn't it? Where it was.
I think it was,
yeah. Well, in there, I think that targets another audience. It didn't target our audience. The old bus station in Crossy is another audience. You know what I mean? But I think we go for the families, don't we? Doing all right for the person. Well,
So we've been benefited from a range of common funding, which is where we're being able to offer what's a GP referral sessions for gyms as well. So that model is very different. It's a more of a community focused. Yeah.
Okay. For closing remarks, then, Councillor Parker.
I'm not sure whether I should come into it after Councillor Allport steroid stereotype comment, because not only am I a member of J2, I'm also a member of Strength Cycling. But to hit on from what Councillor Brocky and Councillor Allport said, different types of gyms, as they said, they suit different types of people. At Strength Cycling, there's a lot more facilities to train different parts of your body, whereas at J2, when I go, it does attract more of the older generation because they find it more, not, what's the word I can describe, intimidating. So J2 is always relatively busy when I go. I struggle on a daily basis when I use the facility to park the car because there is nowhere to park because it's all people that are parked on that car park are all either in the pool, using the climbing wall, or they're upstairs in the gym. So, yeah, but like Councillor Brocky said, with using a financial pay-as-you-go, I pay monthly. I'm not subjected to a contract, but J2, I'm subjected to a contract. I think we'll leave it at that.
Well, we'll have a look at the growth membership at J2 in our next meeting. We'll have another set of quarterly statistics to look at. And if we as a committee reach a view that we're concerned about weak growth in membership and the way things are going there, I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to look at it in more detail. But at present, it does seem to be doing very well.
I don't think there's weak growth. I think it's good.
I mean, what I'm saying is at the moment it's not. It is very strong, particularly from the statistics we have this board.
Yeah. Can I ask one last thing? Okay.
You can say one last thing. I think I've got an officer who'd like to move us on to the.
No, I just wanted to say,
That's the streets.
I just wanted to say, if I could do a plug as well for our museum. Which again is an excellent facility. If anybody's, feeling Saturday afternoon, go all around there. No cup of tea inside the skateboard over in the cafe there. And that's a really, really good facility.
It is, and another green indicator further up the report.
Yeah,
so museum
it's
is
worth going to.
really, really good. Yes, highly recommend. In that case, we'll draw a conclusion to the discussion. That is the last red indicator anyway, and we will consider more such indicators at our next meeting. That concludes the item on the agenda. The next item is item number 6, the town deal and future. This is okay. Our officer has drawn my attention to the corrected report that's in front of us. We've all got a copy of that, yes? Brilliant. Councillor Sweeney, would you like to introduce the?
Yeah, I'd love to. And yeah, it's the last page here was from about 4 months ago, rather than the current one. So the rest of the report's the same. It's just simply that.
Very lovely and purple on the that side.
Yeah, I can't really think. So I think it's better than like that. So yeah, this is an update as well. This nice picture of the New York place. My favourite, well, one of the favourite is start with the Astley Centre is now open. If anybody goes and has a quick look in that, it's worth a visit. That's the first, I think, it is done and dusted and finished. Picture of the New York place coming up. My personal favourite, I think I've always said, is the Midway, the car park, and the vision of what's going to happen Midway car park. I find it really, really exciting, but I'm a bit weird. And also Catherine Centric's plans to reuse things as opposed to flatten and rebuild, which does our carbon footprint an absolute power of good. There's various things in here, including a map of what the Right site is going to be, with a picture of the Astley Arts Centre as well. I say well worth a visit. The picture here as well of the keel in the town, of what it's going to be look like. That's still building. A lot of this stuff is still going in hand, but I think it's an exciting time to be a Newcastle council, to be honest with you, because it's going to be great. It's quite soon now, apart from the art line starting there. That's things coming out of the ground. We're going to see. It's not demolition of your place, but stripping out of it because of the inside of it. Things like that, we can actually see real progress. It's been great. We start getting cranes above the skyline in Newcastle. I personally can't wait. I'll take any questions off this, and I'll answer all this when we can. They'll answer. That's it. That's fair enough. There you go.
I have a question.
Okay.
2.3.9 digital infrastructure. I love a report with pictures. What is that picture illustrating? Does it illustrate the whole of digital infrastructure or just a part?
That is a very abstract picture of digital technology in a digital wire.
I love it. We should have more images like that in our reports. It's a very colourful, very useful picture.
I'll be honest.
So really glad to see. Would any members like to ask questions? I can see Councillor Lewis first.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I've got a few that I want to ask.
Go through.
So 2.1.1 market improvements, obviously great. We've got some of the market stalls been replaced in regards to the awning. I go into the market every weekend and I do speak to some of the stall holders, and the new ones are already pooling with water. So costing's been thought about potentially having to replace them quite quickly, because the stretching did not been fitted very well. I think it's more the design rather than the skills of our staff fitting them, because it's fitted with bungee. Obviously bungee will stretch, especially when there's water on there. So has that been thought about in regards to potential additional costings to do that again in the future?
Right.
Oh, thank you. We will look into that.
Well, yeah, mate.
We've been on a couple of weeks now, and if that is the feedback, we'll have to go to that. And I think we've had a little bit of feedback from the trades to the market officer. So, yeah, I'm aware of it, and we'll be looking into it. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I've got like 4 questions in total. So following on with that, with the nipper parking, obviously we've got parking charges on the car park, so we're going to charge for the nipper parking as well. Has that costing been potentially thought about?
No, I don't think the intent was to charge for it. The net parking, I think it's a few bays and it'll be 20 minutes, half an hour.
It's
And nip out and nothing.
And how's that going to be monitored then?
Well, we'll have to see that because obviously people will park there all day when they think
Yeah,
that. So it'll have to be monitored and our traffic will be aware of that.
okay, that's fine. No problem. So just walking over from where I've parked, I've come past York Place. So this is 2.1.2 that I'm now talking about. There was a homeless person in the doorway of one of the shops. What are we going to do to try and protect that whilst it's a building site to reduce people trying to bed in there overnight? Obviously, we don't want potentially having homeless people then staying there.
Living in your place.
Yeah, that's
Say,
potentially
it'll be fenced off like all these sites are.
okay.
the doorway I'm talking about is the old spec, so not the old spec. so
Yeah, I think it might be.
Yeah. I noticed that as well, and we've asked the team to have a conversation with the individuals staying there overnight, so we can then support them, but then the ones who can then put in, they're done with, what's the health food shop called? Oh, it's a bag space where they put a door across that, so they kind of, so we will be using that. Once your start will be a secure boarding all the way around the building anyway, so what we're seeing now is a temporary measure. The building's just been entered by co-op, so we're now starting to do some asbestos work inside, so the next phase will be appointing the partial demolition contractor to enable them to put a secure, secure, as we did civic building.
Yeah, it's just I've got concerns because obviously a lot of the shop, well, all the shops that are still open are obviously glass. And all it takes is for someone to decide to smash a door or a window in and then go, I'm going to take permanent residency here.
Yeah.
And that then causes delays to that. So that's sort of why I brought it up, because obviously we are trying to regenerate and we want to make sure that there's nothing like that brought in. And then obviously the design is in the early stages, but once it sort of gets proposed through, will it come to this committee for us to have a look at and go through the breakdown of costing specifically to do with your place, well, any of the regeneration, so that we can have a look at.
It'll just be part of the regular update we get to it, and then I'll go through planning committee. Nothing, I'll also add as well what a superb job the co-op bank have done, Laura. Fabulous sites if you get a chance going in there. But no, it'll these are standing items on this committee on the Monday, same report.
Were there, so in particular, so that when the administration and our offices are preparing future reports, what kind of detail would councillors be interested in seeing is definitely included? You mentioned a bit about design and costs, looking at things like milestones or.
Yeah, I think milestones and just like where we're looking at the money being spent in general within the project. Obviously, it's a good project. We want to make sure that the money's being spent in the best possible way for us as a council. And I think a good way to do that is to make sure that it's scrutinised and debated on overall. So I think it'd be good to get it in so that we are all happy and knowing that it is going forward in the best way possible for everyone.
Nodding heads from our officers. Were those your 4 questions? Or do you...
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, thank you.
Would any other councillor like to ask a question? Councillor Brock.
Or the Midway car park, so take the piss out. It's you know what Councillor Lewis has just said about costings and things that are obviously in an early stage of development, which as soon as anybody says that, it sort of guillotines any further comment, really. It doesn't, well, it's a work in progress and you'll be updated and all this stuff. We can get fed up with hearing this. Almost as I get fed up with saying it. You're looking at taking a building which hasn't had certainly a lot of issues which made it unsuitable even for cars, never mind anybody else. There's a lot of gunk in there. We know there is, and there are experts who I'm sure are going to sort it out. I'm not suggesting that therefore it should be, you know, consigned to some sort of building Armageddon or something just because it's like getting less concrete in. But it's very difficult to quantify the costs, and the costs of at the moment, and although they're hypothetical costs, it's like fighting fog, isn't it, when you're having a conversation about something that this design is at the early stages. It's got to have been costed out somehow, and there has to be some idea of how much it's going to cost if everything goes well, and then if everything doesn't, because in a building like that, with all the infrastructure that's underneath, the drainage, the, all the wires and God knows what under there. If they hit snags, there's going to be obviously increased costs. I'm not saying that makes it a bad development or that it's not a very good idea that we have 61 bedroom apartments, more of them, and 44 2-bed apartments, even better, and some 3-bed apartments, God help us. And then we're getting a gym and that kind of thing. That is all good stuff, and the town needs accommodation. But in terms of the finance involved, and the fact that it's very difficult because it's at an early stage and because it's been so nasty and historically has had so many problems, the idea of hanging on to sort of the bottom bit of it and then sort of constructing over the top of it seems to me, even with my knowledge of buildings and stuff, to be a little bit sanguine and a little bit optimistic, because it's not going to be an easy project. In fact, of all the projects that are there, I don't like the York Place thing. I don't like it. We're just going to come past over and tidy up the shops. It's not going to be as radical and as interesting as it may have been, but I accept that costs can limit what you can do. But the vision of this is very hard to see. But even if you see the vision, you can't really legislate, for want of a better word. You can't really allow for all the increases in costs that will happen if they hit bad stuff. And it's very difficult to predict if you have the history of that car park and the fact that it's been closed on various occasions for flooding and nasty substances and all the rest of it. I just think we're going to need to keep an eye on the costs. That's all I'm saying. And presumably, as Councillor Sweeney said, we're going to get regular updates about how costs may have escalated. The concern to me is that it is a good idea, and everything has to start with an idea. But looking at, having lived in the town for quite a while and looked at the different incarnations of that car park, it's probably the most horrible thing, the most horrible thing that we're trying to change into a nice thing. There's nothing particularly horrible about your place, nothing particularly horrible at the Rycroft side. And things that are flattened, you can see the vision. I'm not sure that it's going to be as predictable in terms of cost, this last development. It's the only one that scares me, actually. The other ones are a lot of me hate them, but this is potentially problematic. And who's going to pay for it? This is the thing. Who's going to get this money?
I think it's visionary, Councillor Buffy, but I wouldn't say that.
Are you scared, Councillor Sweeney?
No, I'm not scared. I'm not slightly bit scared. I think when it's done, I think councils across the country will come to Newcastle, look at it and say, well, we could do that with our 1960s car park.
Oh my God.
I think they'll look at it and I think, my word,
They can stop in a new hotel. They can stop in a new hotel.
You're not thinking. I think it's of all these things. I mean, I've not got a very good imagination, but I think this is the one that really it really does it for me, and I'm really excited to see what they come up with. But it must be frustrating because it's always I haven't got any more information. I don't know. It's all early days.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, you speak.
Can I give a little bit more detail? We'll try and calm you down, Councillor. And it is early days, as it says, and I know you don't like that term, but it is. We have appointed cabinet secretary, as you know now, after the council discussion we had last month, and they are now in a period of feasibility surveys, etc., and design development, which is a normal process to go through. They are now taking structural survey work for the car park. They will be working on how to cut the holes through the building because we're putting in light rails, like I've explained before, and they will come forward with the plans. In terms of the costs, which we've often talked about, and I've often reminded you that the costs will be covered by capital centre when they buy the building offers. It is in their interest to make sure that the costs are as low as they can be, whilst getting a quality build and a safe build, etc., because they will be owning and operating this building. So we will be funding the build, But at the end of the build, and this is the important bit, and I think it gets lost, the cost of that development or the value of that development on completion will be the amount, whichever's the greater, the amount of Captain Century buying to sell. So we sell to them to buy from. So yes, costs may well increase, but they won't be costs we will be being because Captain Century will be covering those costs when we build.
Yeah, and with respect, it's the best case scenario, and you do say when they buy it. And hopefully, hopefully if this is the plan and this is the hope, that is fine, but it remains a hope. This is a commercial company.
It won't be a hope because it's a contract. It will be a contract.
Oh, the contracts.
Let's be clear. We're starting discussions with essentially now about legal agreements that sit behind the construction contract. Those legal agreements will be that they will purchase the development by one of those two amounts. If those agreements are not in place, those construction contracts will not be entered into. We won't take that money. Same as we did, it's where the court said so we didn't enter that contract until we signed up with CIC. Same thing with the Nutton Village Hall. We won't be building it until we've got something to operate with. So it's a very similar thing.
Yeah.
So
With regard to that, and also in a way with regard to kids going in a smaller way, do we get which is a CIC, which is a different sort of situation? Since the council is obviously going to heavily invest in this, certainly in the initial stages and so forth, do we get to see the books? I think with the CIC, I don't like CIC.
with CIC, well, at the time they took over, there were no books. They set themselves up to run the Kidsborough Sports Centre. So we are now on regularly get updates from the CIC on that.
We need to do an information request.
I think we should make it in freedom.
But in terms of Captain Century, they've shared what they can with us. They're a privately owned company. They're not they're setting up SPVs for this as they've done with all of their elements in the past. And they are in negotiation with a large fund, institutional funds, to help their commercial activities going forward, etc. If that's publicly available, we will be getting that. But due diligence on all of this will be undertaken by our treasury management, financial teams, and we sort out legal agreements as well. We're not just running over to Captain Century and really like looking at you. We like what you've done. Here's a car park, off you go. And here's 20 million at the end. Thanks very much. It's a lot of work to go, and we will update you on those as we go. But we are starting that work now. They're not due to report back to us with designs and full costings until the autumn, September, October time. So don't think it's coming over the summer.
Okay.
There's an awful lot of work to do. They are complex. And as Steve said, the midway is the one that gets the most excited because this is. And then because if you think about the council, there are lots of 1960s, 70s car parks that councils are struggling still to do. There's also this effort to get the mix of what we do in our town centres is different and get more people living in the town. And you'll be surprised, these things look quite quirky when they're developed. A lot of people like living in quirky, trendy. I prefer a nice little house with 2 windows either side of the front door and an ongoing garden itself, but a lot of people like that type of look. So it is a tried and tested model they've done. They transform difficult buildings into very pleasant places to live.
Okay, as long as you're watching and make sure everybody knows we're watching.
We've got there knowing we're being watched. We're there being watched and we're all over.
Brilliant. That was a detailed question, a very comprehensive answer. I did see Councillor Stubbs indicate and Councillor Parker and now Councillor Allmore. Councillor Parker, was your question related to the midway?
It's not a question, it's merely a comment to
midway?
for me to say that this Newcastle underlying Borough Council has done it before. They've turned an ugly building, which we used to have the most ugliest building in the country. If anyone, for those that can remember, the old Fine Fair building. And like I say, I don't know who it was at the time who was running the council, but they turned that into the new cinema complex, which has stood for a long time. Councillor Stubbs is laughing because he knows where I'm coming from.
But he wants to say credit.
I was the one that did it.
And on that note, councillor Stubbs.
Just a hint of caution, rightly or wrongly, there's a few councillors, in fact, there might not be any in this room, maybe a couple, that are along with the two to remember that we had a contract for a super duper shopping centre right outside that car park, and it never happened. And we had a contract.
It's also difficult to take credit for the administration of.
What I'm saying is, it's all we're going to say is a contract.
Yes.
We had a contract,
Yes.
and that contract was broken.
Yeah.
So I take Wendy's point.
Yeah.
It's not a given.
Nothing in line this time.
So, yes, so I suspect Councillor Rocky will be doing much more scrutiny on this than I will be, but she will be.
And the offer is for Councillor Rocky to come this evening if she wants.
It's a fair question.
For both of them.
Thank you, Chair.
Brilliant. Councillor Osborne.
Not related anyway.
Okay, well, let's move on to something else.
It's Kidsroad train station works and the shared service hub. Obviously we delayed coal, mine shafts, etc. Which was also the case with the railway bridge John Gullis apparently built single-handedly a few years ago, adjacent to both of those sites. So I was just wondering why that was that taken into consideration when these projects were sort of approved.
Suddenly didn't discover coal on the Kidsroad, did they? It's not like it's been there for thousands of years.
Millions of pounds.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
So,
Yes, we were aware of the difficulties that the bridge created at the train station and it delayed it, of course, to the area that is meant to be in part of it. At the time putting these together, we were told that there would be no, I want to say, interference from the network ground, but the issues would be dealt with and we'd be able to do what we wanted to do. We're only really wrapping the station start up and putting a new car park and a bus lay-by out. And we are building on a site that has already got buildings on. We believe the response we've had back from Network Rail and the millions of pounds they've requested for remediation are extremely excessive and over the top, and that's why the MP is talking to the minister and Network Rail to bring them to next week. So yes, we were aware of it as a risk. We thought we had covered that risk in terms of early discussions, but it went as these things progressed from sort of one department, then was from another department. They had trying to deal with things.
Has it impacted on the cost?
It will have an obviously cost because there is some remediation that they are now insisting on that we're going to have to find money for. We're going to have to get some more money from somewhere. So maybe some of the money from the HS2 reallocation may come our way through that, but we're still early day.
Councillor Grocott. Madam Chair, just a quick one about master plan, actually, this one. A bit about the hotel as well. Obviously, saw from Cabinet, or going into Cabinet next week, obviously we have got a great deal of funding going into there. Obviously, the council are going to have to put so much in themselves. When will we have an actual figure how much that will be? As one thing. The second one is obviously concerning, hopefully, the village hall. Obviously, this £1 million is earmarked, and obviously we're waiting for an organisation to take that over. But just based on community centres which we've run, it's not just going to take the 1 million to build it, it will be how much reserves will be put into that organisation, or how will they start off with energy bills going forward. Obviously, when it starts off, we have no capacity on financial. So what will we put in there?
Right, sorry, so what was the first part of the question? I got confused with the second.
The first one is obviously you've got 3 sets of funding.
Yeah, sorry, that's right. We'll, as we're going through each of the schemes,
yeah,
we have a pot of money, and each scheme will take a certain amount of money from that pot. I believe it's a residual. So what we're trying to do is we've got an estimate for all 3 elements. We're trying to maintain this round back as much as we can.
Yeah,
we've had the issue with the changing rooms because of we had to go out to retailing that. I think that's the report you're referring to.
Yes,
going to cabinet next year. And we are already value engineering that with the the contractor to try and bring those costs down as well, to then leave as much money as we can.
Yeah.
To then decide how much, or not decide, calculate if there is going to be a shortfall, where that shortfall might be coming from. The design of the village hall hasn't been started yet, because what we're trying to focus on is getting the rest of nothing sorted. And then we need to go out and start to think about who is actually going to run it, and what they might need and what they won't need. The allocations from the town is a capital allocation, not a revenue allocation. So there'd have to be a discussion about whether the group would have some support going in or not. So we haven't got to that point yet. At the moment, there is no allocation for the revenue support for any group. But at the moment, we don't have a group to have that conversation with.
Okay, that's fine. So obviously, going back to the £1 million now, obviously the ring fence for the village short. Any kind of period where that may be given, where it said, well, that's not works, and it goes back into somewhere, or any time period for that?
I think we have to find out if there's an appetite for somebody to run it in the first instance. And with all projects in town, if something either isn't being spent fully or the project is abandoned, there is a process to go through with government around reallocating that money into. What we would look to do is reallocate that money within the town deal area itself, rather than give it back, because that would be a crime if we gave it back.
That's right.
We have lots of plan Bs because we had a long list, lots of projects when we established the town deal. But again, we haven't looked into that because we're still hopeful that we'll sort the station out, and we're hopeful that
Yeah, I mean, the second one about the hotel, actually, the feasibility is still obviously going through. Obviously, from a financial point of view, is that once again going to be impacting, or is that on the project management costs? Because obviously, project management costs would remain fairly quickly. Really. And obviously, we've got seems to have a lot of still kind of feasibilities and different things to go through. So, are we covered in all aspects on that? And that will be taken out from there, different areas if needed.
The hotel is part of the capital essential works that's been going, undergoing now between now and September, October time, the view that they will be operating in. So again, it is a if there are any cost overruns on that, again, it would have to be factored into the development of the scheme. A core have got in the game because it's their name that will be up on the wall to be at this time, so they all have a design specification that they're very keen to deliver on, but capital essential work with them before, so they know exactly what they need. So it will be part of the right crop deal. So the capital essential part of that will be the hotel, the residential areas, and the aspiring bit done essentially on behalf of us.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Stubbs.
Just going back to this railway station. I mean, I probably admit this was a while ago, and it may well have changed, but there was a major issue with the bridge. And that the Canal and Rivers Trust were asked to spend quite a lot of money. And they were obviously not going to do that. Has that situation been resolved yet? The last time I asked, it hadn't.
2 days ago.
But you didn't in a coach. Or a bus that would like to run in front of it.
Yeah, I have to look into that, Mike. I don't have the details to hand.
When I sat on the board, maybe 18 months ago now, there was a £1.2 million of reinforcement cost because the buses that would have been going over it into the railway station, when they checked it, it wasn't fit for purpose. Now it may well come up with a different solution.
I'm sure it's reason. I can't wholeheartedly give the answer.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Look into it and get back
Please.
to it. My hope is that if we knew back to 18 months ago when we put the thing together, we've allowed some costs.
And that's at my house and before just 10-ton trucks on the little go.
Well, no.
This one is out. Yes, this one is out.
I'll look into it here, sorry.
Okay, it's fine.
Okay, thank you very much for that and for the answers given. There are no further reports on that report. Thanks very much for the report. Item number 7 on our agenda is the work programme. We mentioned earlier potentially inviting Mr. Byrne to talk to us about waste and recycling. I feel that is a useful thing.
That might be better in June, Chair, I think. That might be better in June, because I think because June doesn't look that particularly busy.
Yes. Are there any further thoughts on that? I'm content with June. Could we extend an invitation? Would that be okay, Councillor Sweeney, to Andrew?
Okay, so sure, I think so. It's give it another 3 months. So
Yeah.
so it seems a fair.
Yeah. Phenomenal. In that case, the date of our next meeting will be the 27th of June.
Can do this one.
Yes, so the report that we've just had is coming back, and I know that the last time we had an update on the town deal, it was much less advanced, and given how much progress has been made between the last one and this, I hope members will be reassured to see similar phenomenal progress in time for the progress. There will be progress.
Oh, is that
There will be adequate.
as well?
Maybe a standing absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, if we're happy with that, it will come back and it will keep coming back until we to have it. So the next meeting is 27th of June. At the moment, the only item on that agenda is the quarterly performance report. So we will add to that a little bit about waste and recycling, with particular focus on the indicators that we looked at earlier. And that being said, I think that's the end of that item. Item number 8, public question time. I've been given no notice of any public questions. Item number 9 is urgent business. I've been given no notice of any urgent business. The date of the next meeting is the 7th on 27th of June. Thank you very much. Good night.
Chair.